All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Emily Potter, and I am the host of the Living the Dream Video Summit. Today, we have Kevin Adair as our first guest. And I just want to tell you a little bit about why I've gathered these beautiful people in this summit. So I'm the director of the Million Kisses Foundation. I'm also a musician who's been living in a gift economy for the last 2 years. And what I have found is that I've decided to take a stand in helping and supporting people in living their dreams. And I specifically have taken a stand on money not being a reason to not go for a dream, to walk away from a dream. And so what I've decided is to bring together some really beautiful, conscientious professionals. I have shamans, I have authors, I have Kevin today. We're going to learn more about Kevin. Reiki masters, life coaches, business coaches. I want to ask them all one question. How are you living the dream? And I want to ask them all different varieties of their stories, how they've overcome obstacles. So today we have Kevin Adair. He's coming from Chicago, Illinois. As much as I understand, he has done over 10,000 shows as a juggler, a magician, a hypnotist, a fire dancer, and a motivator. And today we'd like to just welcome him. So thank you for being here.
Well, thanks, Emily. Great to be here.
Okay, so I have so many questions for you. First, I want to just ask you, have you been doing this kind of work since you were a child? Magician, hypnotist, dancer, fire dancer. Tell me how it began for you.
Sure. Well, yeah, actually, I was always involved in things like choir in school and all the school plays that I could join. I was in children's theater, and then I always tried to bring it back around. So I was in a group called Elmhurst Children's Theater because I grew up in the town of Elmhurst outside Chicago. And then as an adult, I went back and I was a director for Elmhurst Children's Theater. So I always tried to, and still do, try to learn as I go, and then when I'm in a position when I can, share what I've learned with people who were previously in the situation that I was, or in the situation now that I was in previously. And so yeah, I was Peter Rabbit in second grade, and I've been very fortunate. I've actually stayed in touch with a lot of my teachers. So just a few days ago, I actually ran into my music teacher from elementary school. And she always remembers me. I've seen her at many. She's come to a number of my events, theater events and personal events. And she's not the only one. Quite a number of my teachers, I've been very fortunate that they've continued to have a role as my life has gone on. And I've stayed in touch with them over quite a few years. But yeah, so I was just, whenever anybody said, hey, do you want to do this? I was pretty much always the kid who would say, yeah, I'll do that. And off we'd go. And so whether it was singing in a school show or learning how to juggle and participating in talent competitions and all of those things, I would always be the one to jump. And people grew to expect that of me. And then as my career diversified, I've always been the one who seems to be willing to take the step and to try something new or try to figure out something that hasn't been done before.
So one of my favorite things about what you've written in the write-up about you, I have to even read this. Kevin believes that each human life is a century-long, interactive, creative performance. I absolutely love that. Can you share more about that for you?
Well, sure. Thankfully, medical science has gotten to the point where we have just about a century to work with. We have almost 100 years or maybe 100 years. And even if we aren't fortunate enough to have that long a life, I think sometimes people who have their lives cut short by various issues, accidents or medical conditions, sometimes they figure out a way to cram extra experience into the brief time that they have. You know, there's lots of inspirational videos now that have been left behind from people who had fewer years than that. But I always have gone by one of my key perspectives, which is that I live my life as if I could live 100 years. So I take care of myself, I exercise, I eat right, I watch what chemicals I interact with. I make very careful choices because I don't want anything that I do now to long-term have a deterioration process. So those would cut off the last 20 years of that potential 100 years. But at the same time, even 100 years is still a relatively brief period of time to see what kind of impact you can make and what kind of legacy you can leave. So even as a really young kid, I was definitely thinking ahead. You know, and another thought came to me about your previous question. I've been digging through some different family records, and I came across a cassette tape that I made when I was 12. And it was a performance that I gave for my grandmother's women's club in Homewood, Illinois. And so here's my grandmother, who passed away when I was 17, introducing me at 12, doing a drum solo and singing. I hadn't even learned how to juggle yet, or at least not as well enough to perform it in that situation. But whatever I knew at the time, I was ready to share. And now I even have a record of that I was able to share with my parents before too long, very much long ago. So it's been fun and exciting to not just live this, but keep the documentation of it. I've got a lot of photos from when I was a kid and in children's theater shows. So it's just a long-term perspective, and you can gain that more objective perspective if you take a step back and look. Everything you've ever done is a part of your path now, but right now you can definitely look forward and see what paths you're going to make.
So I already know a big question I'm going to ask, and it's one that our audience actually wants to hear the presenters talk about, but I'm going to put that on hold because I want to actually so what you actually have done is take these things that you're playing through life. You these things from childhood, juggling, and you've made it into a career. So this is the thing that I really want to focus on is you're living the dream. You're not making excuses. You've made a career out of these incredible things. And one particular thing that I want to emphasize now, that you expanded it so that you're not even just doing it in your local little community. You combine creative expression with social and ecological activism. So you're
Absolutely.
yeah, I love that. Do you want to share more about that? And that what I want to emphasize specifically is that you're playing for yourself, but you're making it actually part of your legacy in your life, way beyond you, so that you're making a profound wave change on the planet.
Right. Well, I definitely think that we have a lot of responsibility. We have a responsibility to future generations, and we have a responsibility to inspire others around us, especially younger generations. So, yes, so I took the concepts. I have been doing motivational presentations and a lot of different creative and entertaining presentations for many years. And I really started listening to my own advice and asked myself what kind of impact I could make. So I was touring around. I toured on cruise ships. I toured from resort to resort in a lot of Caribbean countries. And as I was there, I looked around and I realized that perhaps the best thing that I could do in a country like the Dominican Republic, where I found myself in 2005, the best thing probably to do there wasn't only to entertain the people who had more money, who were coming just to enjoy the beach. Perhaps I needed to take a look at the culture and learn more about the country and the people who could make something like an all-inclusive resort actually work. And ask some difficult questions like, okay, we're making a lot of garbage right here through this process. Where do those garbage trucks go when they leave the resort? And where do the bell personnel go, and the desk personnel go, and the other entertainment personnel, the people who introduced me in the show, where do they go when they leave the resort? What are their families like? So I was very fortunate to meet some really interesting Dominican people. And although there's plenty of advice not to leave the resort, I never paid attention to that kind of advice. So I did, and I went with people and I learned about the culture, and I had some amazing food that is just in no comparison to the food in the resort. The resort is trying to make everything perfect, but it makes everything kind of sterile. But you get off the resort and you meet people who really enjoy culture and life and dancing. And I found that amazing in the Dominican culture, for example, and now I'm also working in Haiti. In both of those cultures, you find adult men who will go to bars, have a beer, and actually hang out and dance. And I never see that in the United States anymore, or very, very, very rarely. So I definitely think in the overall, there's a lot of different questions and answer forms. So there's the peace index, which indicates where people are more peaceful and less likely to get injured. and I followed that, you're relatively not likely to get injured if you're an international traveler right now in either the Dominican Republic or Haiti. So that was one thing that I followed. But there's also the happiness index. And the happiness index, I think, directly correlates. Societies where grown adult people tend to dance more, I think, are societies that tend to be happier. And as I've explored a number of different societies, it just continues to be backed up more and more. So there I was. It's 2005. I needed to figure out, am I just going to entertain the people who have a lot of money and are just enjoying the beach, or am I going to learn more about the culture? So I got off the resort. I started learning about the culture, and I started applying some of the things that I'd learned throughout life, which were ecological development. And I actually also have a degree in statistical psychology.
Wow.
So I started learning, and I didn't know that what I was doing was different at the time. But what I did was, rather than figuring out something that I thought the people there needed and imposing it on them,
Right.
like I thought people needed water, clean water. So if I'd gone along with that, I could have started a nonprofit just to distribute clean water. But instead of doing that, I did some research into that, and then I asked people, I said, what would make your life better?
Yeah.
And nobody answered anything about water. Instead, they were talking about cooking. They had difficulty finding fuel, or fuel was too expensive, or people had to go and skip school. Quite often the daughters in the family would skip school to go gather wood to cook for the family. So I started finding new ways to introduce ecological cooking methods. I introduced solar cooking, and I introduced recycled cooking. And I developed this entire philosophy, which I call listen, lead, listen again. And the philosophy works if you happen to be working in international development, but it even works in interactive communications, like, Emily, like we're doing right now. You asked me some questions, and now you're listening, and this is my chance to lead, and then we'll give it back to you, and you'll lead, and your entire process, you're living the dream. You're gathering all together these people who have new and different ideas that could challenge you, ideas to lead you forward. So you're listening and leading. I think this entire process and the Million Kisses Foundation fits right into the pattern of how you can listen and provide leadership, not just be passively listening. So that's what I did. And since then, for the past 12 years, I've been working in the Dominican Republic and Haiti. I've distributed hundreds of sun ovens, but I don't give them away for free. What we do is we have partners who are nonprofits who help to subsidize the price of a sun oven for people, but they don't give it away for free either. The people pay a reduced rate, and they pay it over a period of time, so they can pay it in a reasonable amount of time. And the money that they save over the fuel that they were using before eventually pays off the sun oven. And the money that goes to our nonprofit partner, what that's used for is the training and the follow-up. And so you create long-term relationships. We create relationships with our local partners on the ground, and they create relationships with the individual households, and the households learn back and forth and exchange ideas about how to best cook. And the result is everyone benefits. And then after a while, we were cooking with the sun, and we realized that we needed to expand, because you can't cook with the sun if it's rainy or if it's later or earlier in the day. So then we found a recycled fuel to develop, and we kept improving it and asking people how they liked it, what they thought we could do better. And we created additional stoves, and we learned how to make those stoves. So I brought along a little prop. This is actually our briquette. It's made out of recycled paper, cardboard, and sawdust.
Oh my goodness.
And this briquette is specifically developed that we did a lot of research, a lot of experimentation, and it was independently tested that it's actually 30% more efficient than any other briquette that had ever been introduced in Haiti. Plus, we realized you can't use briquettes on a charcoal stove, and most people in Haiti cook with charcoal. Charcoal takes 10 pounds of wood to make 1 pound of charcoal, and Haiti is significantly deforested. And to reforest a country, you really have to deal with the demand that's causing those trees to be torn down, which includes this crazy charcoal deal. So we created a big picture system concept, and I agree with you. The way we got there was playing, but we keep listening, and we keep adding leadership, and we listen again, and we add more leadership. And now we have hundreds of Haitian people cooking with our briquettes in the stoves we've produced, and they're saving their lungs because our stoves have chimneys. The Any smoke, if it's produced, and not very much is, but any that is goes up the chimney, so it's out of the kitchen. And so it's better for people's health. It saves all the trees. And the materials that went into this are paper and cardboard, which were just being either dumped and burned or sent away in ships to China, which doesn't help Haiti. And then the other material is this little material right here. This is an indigenous tree to Haiti. It's actually a tree called candlewood, and the oil from candlewood is an essential oil. So now we're continuing the process and expanding, and we're having candlewood trees planted. The Latin name for it is amyris. We're having these trees planted so that we can harvest the oil from them first and share them with the world as a very key essential oil that hasn't had as much attention as others, but it has wonderful properties like any essential oil. And what's left over after you take the oil out makes great briquettes. So rather than tearing down acres and acres of trees to make a very little bit of charcoal, first we grow the trees, then we harvest the trees sustainably, take the oil out, the world has more essential oil, the people have more fuel that they can put together with paper, and it's a big system, and everybody wins.
Okay, so with all of that, you have created your life, because when I met you, I got to come to your home and see the beautiful event space that you have. You still have that professional life that you have with the shows that you do, and then you do this work down in Dominican Republic and Haiti, and then you just mentioned you're also writing this book, Listen, Lead, and Listen Again. So that's a lot of things. So I want to actually focus now. One of the main questions that our audience wants to know is how to create an abundant, empowering relationship with money. Can you talk about how are you able to live this dream? How these dreams that you're just filling your life with, how are you doing it? Or at least maybe not the specifics about money itself, but just a mentality of I can make this happen.
Well, ideas, if they're of their own value, they can even pay for themselves. So yeah, we met just this past winter at the Emerald Palace, and the Emerald Palace is an environment, event space, a place where people who want to share arts and healing can go and exchange ideas and concepts, and we have pretty good discussions there about a lot of different ideas. So I founded that back all the way back actually in 1999, and it's drawn enough people that it is one of the ideas that I've helped create that now self-sustains. So the Emerald Palace pays for itself because people want to have an opportunity where they can do performances on a smaller, intimate venue. They like the idea of an intentional community, people living in the same space because they like each other and they want to learn more about each other. And then, there's a lot of logistics of that. You have to make sure that the taxes and the insurance get paid and the mortgage and things like that. So there's always the logistics that need to support any idea. But it was the inspiration that I had with the intentional community of the Emerald Palace that led me to go on and create larger intentional communities in places like Haiti and the Dominican Republic.
I see.
And that's where we came to the concept of El Fuego del Sol, which is the work that we do there. And then you can learn more about that at elfuegodelsol.com. But the self-contained nature of what is involved, first you have to have the idea, but then you can't just be only dreaming it. You also have to do the underlying logistics to figure out what's involved with making that idea sustainable. And money is a big part of that. So we create systems which can pay for themselves and grow on each other and expand. So we've had quite a number of interns who have come to us, learned our philosophy, and then have gone and shared the gifts that we've helped them germinate with other organizations. And so people are out there working and sharing the concepts that they learn with us with other people. And all of those ideas are in themselves self-sustainable. I'll give you one more quick example. So we don't actually, at this point, pay for the materials that we use to make the briquettes. We pull these materials out of the waste stream, and organizations, embassies, individual companies in Haiti have to pay somebody to take their garbage away. If they pay anyone besides us, it goes straight to the dump and just gets burned. We take it to our facility. We have a full, complete sorting separation facility, one of the first that was ever introduced in Haiti. And we separate it out and we find everything in it. The organics can be used in composting. The paper and cardboard and wood products can be used for briquettes. The plastics can be recycled. The aluminum and other metals can be recycled. Even the glass, we're working on a way to recycle it. So we're every step of the way, rather than having to pay for our materials that we use to make our briquettes, we can keep the cost of our briquettes very low because actually we get paid to take those materials. And then we do get paid to sell the materials because the briquettes, when we sell them, are sold for about 1/3 or 1/2 what it costs to cook with propane or charcoal, which are your two other alternatives. Propane has issues because it's all imported. It doesn't provide enough jobs for Haiti. And charcoal has issues because it's killing the trees and smoking up the kitchens. So not only do we improve ecologically, both on the grand scale, like saving trees, and on the minor scale, like in indoor air pollution, reducing that, but we also figure out a way financially to make it all pay for itself. And then before we go to the next idea, we get this idea going and we have a team of people. We are always creating jobs. One of the biggest things a country needs when they're in their developmental process is jobs. I mean, we need them here in the United States too, but we create jobs. And I also have a different angle on that. People are always worried about offshoring jobs. Well, if you go to a country and you find resources that need to be used, not only can you create jobs in that country, but you can create jobs for internationals too. So what we're doing is we're not planning on giving it all away to local people. We want to keep growing it. For every 20 Haitian people that work for our company in management, in direction, in some of the most basic jobs, even picking up garbage or working in the recycling plant, everybody has an opportunity to grow and learn. Everybody has an opportunity to actually gain ownership shares, kind of the Microsoft model. The longer you work with us, the more of the company you can also own. And our company already is 20% Haitian owned and 5% women owned. And we want those numbers to continue to grow. But every aspect of it is figuring out ways to benefit the local community, figuring out ways not to siphon jobs or anything away from places like the United States. No, actually, we're creating employment opportunities for people from the United States. So we're creating jobs for internationals, we're creating a lot of jobs for local people, and we're doing it in a financially, psychologically, socially, and ecological way.
So
It's all sustainable. That's the whole key.
what I heard some keywords, and you just said them so fluidly. To a specific question of, how are you making this work financially? Very much what I heard. You've been doing this work. You've been just formulating and figuring it out, learning and growing. I heard you say that you're just growing. So pretty much what I'm hearing what's happened for you is that you just don't stop until there's the answer. You just don't stop. You just keep going, because I'm sure everything that you learn right now,
Right.
because of a decade, you've been doing this work for over 12 years of learning what works, what doesn't work, and you're just not going to stop until you get there. And then you find that it works. That's the main thing that I heard,
Right.
is that you found ways that you can make the Emerald Palace sustainable. I'm sure that was a learning curve along the way. And I'm specifically thinking about people
Absolutely.
at the very beginning of their dream. They're saying, how am I going to make this huge vision that I have possible? And you're saying, in your experience, you learn and grow, you just keep going, you just keep moving. And I know that's a very simple concept, but that's what I'm hearing you say, because now you've grown this incredible thing internationally, bringing jobs to people. I mean, these are big deal. This is a big deal. This is your legacy, and you're making a huge difference. So that's what I hear. I also want to ask you another thing, because you're involved with so many things. Another thing that our audience wants to hear is, how are you able to prioritize? I just heard you're going down to Haiti again on Wednesday in a couple of days. Is that right? How are you able to make
Right.
everything happen? Your work here in there in Chicago gets put on pause when you're going internationally. Tell me more about how you prioritize.
Well, that is really key and important. And one of the biggest things I do is I share responsibility for different aspects of my quest with other people.
Okay.
So I guess you could call it delegation, but I don't really like the word that, because I don't see myself really like as the head of this. I really see myself more as a very active uh, person who's sharing and cooperating with the other people. So everybody has their own activity and action. So, for example, I have agents who have taken a liking to the work that I do, and so they have the job of booking my shows. When I do shows, they're booked pretty far in advance, so I know what I'm doing now for July, for August, for September, and those concepts can continue. And but that tends to be their job and less my job, so I can focus on other things. And also, every step of the way, I've got a great team working for me, both in the Dominican Republic and in Haiti. My my partner for this, his name is Franz Fanfan. We call him Frankie, and he's been working with me since 2005 when I met him in the Dominican Republic. He's the general manager of the operations in Haiti, and he keeps all of that working. So really, the way to make something sustainable is to grow it to the point that it attracts the attention and the interest and the actions of others, and then listen to what they're saying. I'm always listening, and I'm not just going over with my idea saying that it's the better one. I want to know all the ideas. I want to know my ideas. I want to know Frankie's ideas. I want to know my agent's ideas. I want to know the other participants at the Emerald Palace. We're all participants. We're all co-creating. And so one of the most important things that I've learned is, okay, so I do have the final decision, and that needs to be mentioned. But along the way there, I'm not just pressing. Let me give you an example. So there's a lot of people who've designed a lot of stoves for a lot of countries. And many of the people, I would even say most, unfortunately, of the stove designers think that you just have to get the local people to do exactly what your stove needs. In other words, if the local people don't like a particular aspect of the stove, like there's a stove that you can't take the pot out of when it's hot. When it's cooking, you can't take the pot out to go serve it. And so the people, and they're pretty good friends of mine, who have this stove that the pot has to stay into, think that the issue is you need to train the local people just to bring their plates to the stove. But culturally in Haiti, people don't want the people they cook for to enter their kitchen. It's a private space. So what we've had to learn is not just that the training and the learning has to happen of the people that you're working to benefit from your ideas. The training and the learning has to happen to the people who are implementing the ideas. It's a training issue. They just have to learn. It is a training issue, but we have to learn.
Yeah.
Not just they have to learn.
So
it's true. They have to make a certain step, but we have to make a step, and we have to meet in the middle. So we have to figure out culturally acceptable, integrative, beneficial ideas, not just a super idea that begins at the top and works its way down. No, we need to listen from what's coming up from the people who are benefiting. We have to provide for them in a way that is culturally acceptable and will work for them. They have to work, we have to work, and we meet in the middle. That's why it's listen, lead, listen again.
So tell us more about that. That's what I wanted to ask you. You wrote a book, you're writing a book, and you have an article series. I think that you really have truly implemented this in the work that you're doing. Just my own experience, we can become very ethnocentric is the word that I've learned. We come in and say, we know what's right for you. And look, what we're heroes. We come in and we know exactly. And it looks like you completely embraced the true way of respecting where you're coming into. And so you're writing a book right now called Listen, Lead, Listen Again. Is that right?
Listen, lead, listen again. Right.
How would people be able to find this book? Because lots of people are going internationally and really deserving to have this kind of training. Where would someone be able to find that?
Well, I guess the easiest place to find anything about us is the project website, which is www.elfuegodelsol.com.
And we'll put that in this as well, so people can find that if they don't speak the language.
Spanish, right. So in Spanish, that means the fire of the sun, or it also means the force of the sun or the power of the sun. And the reason that's the name of our project is that really all energy originally came from the sun. Even the biomass that we use for this comes from the sun. So the plants receive the energy through photosynthesis originally to go into the materials that make this. And since this is all biomass, this came from the sun, just as much as the sun ovens cook with solar thermal heat. It's all originally from the sun. So yes, elfuegodelsol.com is our website. And I'm also up at Medium. You can read my information. That's at medium.com/arroba, or the @ symbol, Kevin Adair. So that's another link that can reach me and learn about the writings that I do. Medium's an excellent way to cut through, because you don't have to worry about traditional publishing anymore. When you have a good article or a chapter of a book, for example, you can get it right up and on Medium. And I'm also on Patreon. So you can support us through Patreon. So there's a lot of different ways that you can support us. And one of the biggest things you can do if you want to see how this works is come visit us, work with us in the Dominican Republic or Haiti. Everything we do is very interactive and volunteer oriented.
Okay.
So
wow.
There's nothing that's set aside and don't ask about that. No, ask us about anything. We're happy to share everything. And I'm happy to share the free gift. I want to learn about other people's quests too. And you got to be ready to listen. You got to be ready to have the ideas you have cut out from under you, because I've seen a lot of ideas that were based on really good dreams, but they didn't have the logistics to hold them up. So there's a way to do what you want, but it might not be as comfortable as you think.
People watching this right now, if they want to come down, they're excited about what you're doing. You actually welcome volunteers to come down and do the work with you, with what you're doing.
Yeah, and I didn't realize, again, we just started doing that because it seemed like the natural thing to do. We really like the concept of internationals meeting and learning about the culture in the countries where we work, Dominican Republic and Haiti. So we just thought it was natural. What we didn't realize, because we actually have 501c3 status. We're a charity through the United States, through our partners at ompercash.org. There's all these partners and teams, and they all figure, as I said, the way to make an idea work is to get a lot of people involved and create a really efficient, connected network. So synergetics is the word I like to use. That's a Buckminster Fuller word. Synergetics. It's the synergy of everything, getting things working together. But yes, we definitely want people to come down. And what we didn't realize was, if you want to make a donation, just to throw a couple really good organizations out there, but if you want to make a donation to the United Way or to the American Red Cross or to any of these large organizations, and then you say, oh, and I want to come and see what my dollars are doing, they don't let you. They don't have any plans for that. Now, they do a lot of good work. I'm not putting down any particular traditional charity, because I've worked with a number of these organizations. They can be partners with us. But if the people want to come down and see what's going on, even with the American Red Cross, they have to come to a group like us, and I can take them to the American Red Cross and see to help them learn what the American Red Cross is doing in Haiti.
I love it.
I don't understand that. I would think that if you were going to give to any organization, you would want to go where your dollars are. And I even take it further. I think you have the responsibility. I think if you give to an organization and you don't go, or you don't have someone go, then you're not fulfilling what you're supposed to be doing. If you're giving your dollars or your time or your volunteering or your energy, you really have the responsibility to make sure on the verification side that what you're giving to is giving the results that you have. Because
yeah, ideally that is the way it would work, for sure. Well, let me
right. So we open our doors. That's what we do. Come down, join us, and see what we do.
Okay, so last question, and then we're going to probably wrap it up. I want to ask you, here we have people watching this summit. They're watching you. They're seeing all the amazing things you're doing. What are some last words of advice or counsel if someone is excited about their dream? What would you like to do to spring life on their dream right now? What's some counsel or advice you'd like to give?
Well, I would say go for it, but remember that there may be other people who have had that same dream before. And so if you're if your dream is to make yourself the best performer you can be, then you're going to have to work on that dream on your own, whether it's singing or speaking or acting or painting or any of the artistic sides of things. there's a lot of work you're going to have to do on your own, and you'll have to make a relative evaluation of how your ability to make money from your art is compared to the other people who are out there making money from their art. But if your artistic expression is something you think you can create an impact where you can get a lot of people to change their behavior in order to do what you think they should be doing, I would say do what almost nobody does, which is research everybody else who's done that. I am in contact with every briquette maker globally.
Okay.
I am in contact with every ecological stove maker globally. It's not really that big a community. We all know each other, and we all kick ideas back and forth, and our ideas are therefore competitively bettering themselves just by the nature of the market. So listen to other people, because other people have probably had that idea. Figure out what they've done, why they did it. Did they succeed? Did it fail? And if so, you got to understand the whole story, because some ideas that can work in one country don't work in another country. So you also have to figure out a lot about that country. And if you're ready, if it's an idea that you think is worth it, you got to dedicate a lot of time to it. One of the things that fails in many implementations is that they have a 1-year budget. What are we going to do with 1 year? Well, 1 year of budget or spending just 2 years implementing an idea in a country might not be enough. We really think more of a 5 to 10 year focus. If you're going to make an impact, you really have to make your investment and spend your time there and learn everything you can. I greatly prefer geographically focused projects. Ours, for example, we work on one island. There's 2 countries there, the Dominican Republic and Haiti. We don't really work anywhere else than that. A lot of ideas, they try to hopscotch all over the world and try to get a lot of people all doing it. Those are projects that tend to fail because they don't have anyone learning the depth and the full understanding of what it takes to implement it in the local culture. So those are ideas, those are concepts, and that's what you need.
I love the idea of networking so much. So before we go, what is the free gift that you'd like to give to our audience?
Yes, as I was talking about before, what I'd like to share is I'm really interested in the quests of others. So I've shared with you quite a bit here, Emily, with the various different things that I'm doing, and I've learned and greatly appreciate your dream journey and sharing your musical talents and your inspirational talents, really, that you're doing. So these are things that people can do, but I think people need to be able to take their idea and introduce it to a qualitative response of, is it going to work or isn't it? Or what do I need to do to make it work? And so that's why I offer for all the people who want to sign up on our mailing list to have 30 minutes of a quest analysis. You tell me what you want to do with life. You tell me where you want to go and what impact you want to have. And I'll give you easily 5 things that you need to do to find out whether that's really the best thing for you or not. And whether that's in another country making an impact or whether that's in your own world, seeing what you can do to reach your dreams, you got to have strength. You can't be weak if you're going to be following your own road, because paving your own road takes a lot of work. And you got to handle a lot of rejection and a lot of people saying, you can't do that. It won't work. Everybody's done that before. You have to find your own way to do it. And it has to be new, innovative, but it has to be based on asking other people, learning from their mistakes and their successes. And so that's what I'll do. You got an idea? Bounce it off me. Let's talk about it.
I love that. That's the first place of the networking of, hey, I'm ready to just expose my dream to someone. You're willing to listen, someone who's as successful as you are. Kevin, thank you for coming today. I'm going to be closing this up now. I want to just thank the audience for listening to Kevin's story, and I hope that was encouraging and inspiring for you. He's doing remarkable things. I feel like you're really creating a legacy. I really want to just keep saying that word. And
thanks a lot, Emily.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I want to just invite everyone who's watching to get to know what we're doing. Keep watching the summit. You're going to enjoy all of our presenters. What I do is all of this is for free. This is my gift economy model that I'm implementing here. And so I do all of these things for free. If you'd like to get to know more about the Million Kisses Foundation and my efforts, and if you're inspired by my efforts, you're welcome. I'm also on Patreon. It's an exciting way to give a gift in return. If you like what I'm doing and inspired, I ask you to come to the Patreon and definitely give generously. So thank you again for coming. We're gonna complete our session today, and we'll be in touch. We're gonna direct people towards you and your book and your efforts, and hopefully we'll have some people get excited about maybe even coming down to visit you back down in the Dominican Republic and Haiti. So thank you.
That'd be great. Thanks, Emily.
Okay, have a wonderful day.
You too.
Bye bye.